The bullet tore through Zara Williams' shoulder before she even registered the sound of the gunshot. One moment, she was pouring aged whiskey into a crystal glass, her hands steady despite the tension radiating from the two men at the table. The next moment, masked figures in black burst through the door of the private dining room. Guns raised, and Zara's body moved on pure instinct. She lunged sideways, shoving the older man out of his chair just as the muzzle flashed. White-hot pain exploded through her shoulder, spinning her backward. The crystal glass shattered against the floor. Someone screamed. More gunshots. Then darkness swallowed everything whole. But let's rewind. Let's go back to how a 26-year-old waitress ended up taking a bullet for one of the most dangerous men in Los Angeles. 3 weeks earlier, Zara had been pulling double shifts at Soul Garden, an upscale Korean barbecue restaurant tucked into the heart of Koreatown. The tips were decent, the work exhausting, but none of that mattered. Every dollar she made went toward one thing: keeping her younger brother Marcus alive. Stage 3 leukemia didn't care about payment plans or sympathy. The treatments were bleeding her dry, but she'd sell her soul before she'd let Marcus die. He was only 19. He deserved a future, even if hers was spent smelling like galbi and kimchi, collapsing in a bed at 2 in the morning only to wake up 4 hours later for her second job at a coffee shop. The night everything changed started like any other Tuesday. Zara tied her hair back, checked her reflection in the bathroom mirror, the exhaustion evident in the dark circles under her brown eyes, and headed to the floor. Manager Kim approached her during the dinner rush, his expression unreadable. "Zara, you're serving the back room tonight," he said quietly. She blinked. "The VIP room? But I've only been here 6 months. Don't you usually?" They requested someone new, someone who doesn't ask questions. Kim's eyes held a warning she didn't fully understand. "Triple your usual tips. Cash. You take their orders, you serve their food, you don't listen to their conversations." Understood. Zara needed that money. Understood. The VIP room was separated from the main restaurant by a heavy wooden door and a separate entrance. When Zara knocked and entered, she found 2 men already seated. The older one, perhaps in his early 60s, had silver hair swept back from a distinguished face, his suit probably worth more than her car. Everything about him screamed wealth and power, from the gold watch on his wrist to the way he held himself, spine straight, chin elevated. But it was his eyes that caught her attention. Dark, calculating, and tired. So very tired. The younger man sat across from him. Late 20s, she guessed. Devastatingly handsome in that sharp-edged way, with high cheekbones and a jaw that could cut glass. His black suit fit him perfectly, and unlike his companion, he radiated cold energy. His eyes tracked her movement across the room with the focus of a predator. "Good evening," Zara said, bowing slightly as she'd been taught. "My name is Zara, and I'll be serving you tonight. Can I start you with drinks?" The older man smiled, and some of the severity left his face. "Whiskey, the Hibiki 30-year. 2 glasses. Right away, sir." As she turned to leave, she noticed the 4 men standing near the walls. Security, obviously. They wore suits, but couldn't hide the bulk of shoulder holsters or the way their eyes constantly scanned the room. A tendril of unease curled through her stomach, but she pushed it down. Rich people had bodyguards. That was normal. Everything was fine. She returned with the whiskey, poured carefully, aware of the younger man's eyes burning into her. The older man began speaking in Korean, his tone conversational, and Zara tried to make herself invisible as she'd been instructed. "Don't listen. Just serve. Get the tips. Save Marcus." But she couldn't help noticing things. The older man's breathing seemed labored, his hand occasionally pressing against his chest. The younger man's responses were clipped, frustrated. The bodyguards shifted their weight, hands drifting toward their jackets whenever footsteps passed in the hallway outside. Something was wrong here. Something dangerous. Zara served their food, bulgogi and banchan, moving efficiently. She was refilling their drinks when the older man suddenly looked directly at her, really looked at her, as if seeing her for the first time. "You work hard," he said in accented but clear English. "2 jobs?" Zara froze, surprised. "Yes, sir." "How did you?" "Your hands. Coffee stains under the nails. You smell like espresso under the kimchi." His smile was knowing. What? She shouldn't answer. She should deflect and leave. But something in his face, that bone-deep weariness that matched her own, made her honest. "My brother. He's sick. The treatments are expensive." The older man nodded slowly, as if this confirmed something he already knew about the world. Family is everything. You understand this. It wasn't a question. Before she could respond, the door exploded inward. 3 men in black masks, guns already firing. The bodyguards reached for their weapons, but the attackers were faster. One guard dropped immediately, blood spreading across his white shirt. The older man tried to stand, his chair scraping backward, and Zara saw the gun barrel swing toward him, saw the finger tightening on the trigger. Her body moved before her brain caught up. She launched herself sideways, arms outstretched, and shoved the older man with everything she had. He tumbled backward, and the bullet that would have caught him center mass instead tore through Zara's shoulder. The pain was indescribable, like someone had driven a red-hot spike through her flesh. She crashed into the table, scattering dishes, the room spinning into chaos. Gunfire erupted. The younger man had produced a weapon from somewhere, his movements fluid and lethal. 2 more bodyguards rushed in from the adjoining room. The attackers were caught in crossfire, and within seconds, all 3 were down, dead or dying. Zara tried to push herself up, but her left arm wouldn't work. Blood soaked through her uniform, hot and sticky. The room tilted sideways, and she realized she was falling. Strong arms caught her before she hit the ground. The younger man's face appeared above hers, his cold expression cracked by something that might have been shock. "Why?" he demanded in English, his accent thicker than his father's. "Why did you?" But Zara couldn't answer. The darkness was pulling her under, and distantly she heard the older man's voice, speaking rapid Korean, his tone urgent and commanding. The last thing she registered was being lifted, cradled against someone's chest, and the older man's face hovering above hers. "You saved my life," he said softly, and then everything went black. If you're hooked by Zara's sacrifice and want to see what happens when she wakes up in the world of the Korean Mafia, hit that subscribe button right now. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. Drop a comment and tell me, would you have taken that bullet? Zara woke up 3 days later in a room that definitely wasn't a hospital. The ceiling above her was ornate, decorated with intricate molding that probably cost more than her yearly rent. The bed beneath her felt like floating on clouds, nothing like the thin hospital mattresses she'd sat beside during Marcus's treatments. Soft morning light filtered through floor-to-ceiling windows draped in silk curtains. Everything was cream and gold and expensive. She tried to sit up, and pain lanced through her shoulder, forcing a gasp from her lips. Her left arm was in a sling, professional bandaging visible beneath the silk pajamas someone had dressed her in. Silk pajamas. Where the hell was she? "You're awake." Zara's head snapped toward the voice, immediately regretting the sharp movement. The older man from the restaurant sat in a chair beside her bed, looking exactly as composed as he had 3 nights ago, except now his eyes held something different. Respect, and something deeper she couldn't name. "Where am I?" Her voice came out rough, throat dry. "Safe." He poured water from a crystal pitcher into a glass, offering it to her. "My private medical facility. You've been treated by the best surgeons in California. The bullet went clean through, no permanent damage, but you lost considerable blood." Zara drank, her mind racing. Private medical facility. Surgeons. Not a hospital. No police. I should go. My brother, he needs. Marcus is fine. The older man's voice was gentle but firm. He's been moved to a private treatment center, the best in the state. His new oncologist is already developing an aggressive treatment plan. All expenses covered. Indefinitely. The glass nearly slipped from her hand. "What? How do you know about Marcus?" "I didn't. I know everything about you, Miss Williams. Your brother's condition, your debt, your 2 jobs, even your landlord's intention to evict you next month due to late rent." He leaned forward slightly. "I'm a man who values information. And now, I'm a man who owes you everything." The door opened, and the younger man entered. In daylight, he was even more striking, his beauty almost cruel in its perfection. He stopped at the foot of her bed, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "This is my son, Minho," the older man said. "I am Kong Jae-won, and you, Miss Williams, have created a situation that requires careful resolution." Zara's confusion must have shown because Kong Jae-won continued, his tone taking on the weight of lecture, of tradition. "In my world, there are rules older than nations. A life debt is sacred. You took a bullet meant for me, acted without thought of reward or survival. You asked for nothing, expected nothing, yet gave everything." He paused, letting his words sink in. Such a debt can only be repaid in two ways, blood or family. I don't understand, Zara said, though dread was beginning to curl in her stomach. You will marry my son. Kang Ji-won delivered this pronouncement as if announcing the weather. You will become a Kang. You will have our protection, our resources, our name. And in return, the debt will be satisfied. Silence crashed through the room like a physical force. Absolutely not, Zara finally managed. That's insane. I don't even know you people. Used to react. It was instinct, not some kind of marriage proposal. Which is precisely why you're worthy, Kang Jae-won said simply. You acted with pure heart. That is rare in my world. Impossibly rare. Your world. Zara looked between father and son. Minho's expression remained frozen, giving nothing away. What world? Kang Jae-won smiled, and it wasn't kind. I think you know, Miss Williams. Men who dine in private rooms with armed guards. Men who are targeted for assassination. Men who can move your brother to a private facility and erase hospital records overnight. He tilted his head. You're intelligent. What do you think my world is? The word stuck in her throat, but she forced it out. Criminal. Businessman, Kang Jae-won corrected mildly. Though I admit the lines blur. My organization has interests throughout Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Seoul. We are not violent by nature, but we operate in violent spaces. Which is why the Huang gang attempted to kill me 3 nights ago. Which is why they will now come for you. Ice water flooded Zara's veins. What? You're a witness. You saw their faces before my men killed them. More than that, you're my weakness now. They'll use you to hurt me, to draw me out. Kang Jae-won's voice softened. I'm offering you protection, Miss Williams. Marry my son. Take our name, and no one will dare touch you. Refuse, and I'll have to send you far away, somewhere they can't find you. But understand, if you disappear, you'll never see Marcus again. Not while he's fighting for his life. The cruelty of the choice stole her breath. That's not a choice. That's a threat. That's reality. Minho spoke for the first time, his voice cold and precise. His English was flawless, though his accent added an edge to every word. You inserted yourself into a war you don't understand. My father is offering you the best possible outcome. Don't mistake kindness for weakness. Zara turned her attention to him fully. And what do you think about this? Being forced to marry a waitress you've never met. Something flickered in Minho's eyes, too quick to identify. What I think is irrelevant. Family decisions are family decisions. I obey my father. How romantic, Zara said bitterly. This isn't about romance. Minho shot back, his composure cracking slightly. This is about honor, debt, and survival. Don't pretend this is some fairy tale. You'll be a Kong in name only. You'll live in our home, follow our rules, and stay out of business that doesn't concern you. In exchange, you'll have wealth, protection, and your brother will receive the finest care money can buy. Minho, Kang Ji-won said quietly, a warning in his tone. But his son continued, stepping closer to the bed. You want honesty, Miss Williams? Fine. I didn't choose this. I don't want this. You're an outsider who knows nothing about our world, our culture, our way of life. But my father has spoken, and I will respect his decision because he's earned that respect through 50 years of leadership. Can you say the same about your instincts? Can you honestly say you wouldn't do anything to save your brother? The words hit home because he was right. Zara would do anything for Marcus. Hadn't she already proven that by working herself to exhaustion, by accumulating debt she'd never escape, by throwing herself in front of a bullet for a stranger? How long do I have to decide? She asked Kang Ji-won, ignoring his son. You already have. The older man stood slowly, buttoning his suit jacket. You decided the moment you pushed me out of that chair. You're already in this, Miss Williams. The only question is whether you survive it as an outsider or as family. He moved toward the door, then paused. Your brother was asking for you this morning. He's been told you're working for a wealthy family now, that you've moved into their home to provide live-in care. He seems happy that you won't be working yourself to death anymore. I suggest we keep the truth simple for his sake. The stress wouldn't be good for his recovery. After he left, Zara and Minho stared at each other across the expensive room, strangers bound by blood debt and circumstance. I didn't ask for this either, Zara said quietly. Minho's expression didn't soften. No, but you'll live with it anyway. We both will. He turned toward the door, then stopped. The wedding is in 1 week. Someone will bring you appropriate clothing and begin teaching you what you'll need to know. Try not to embarrass the family too badly. Then he was gone, and Zara was alone with her choice that wasn't really a choice at all. The Kong estate sprawled across 3 acres in the Hollywood Hills, a modern fortress disguised as a luxury home. Zara was moved there 2 days after waking up, still weak but healing. The main house was a blend of traditional Korean architecture and contemporary design, all clean lines and natural materials, with wings that seemed to go on forever. Gardens with carefully manicured trees and koi ponds separated the buildings. Armed men in expensive suits patrolled the grounds with the casual efficiency of people who'd done this 1,000 times. Her room was in the East Wing, Minho's territory, though he made it clear they'd have separate quarters. The space was larger than her entire apartment had been, with a private bathroom, a walk-in closet already filled with clothes in her size, and windows overlooking a Zen garden. It was beautiful. It was a cage. Mrs. Choi, the head housekeeper, appeared that first afternoon. She was a Korean woman in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, her graying hair pulled into a neat bun. "You'll need to learn quickly," she said without preamble, setting down a stack of books and folders on the desk. Korean language basics, family hierarchy, proper etiquette, the business structure, who to trust and who to fear. She paused, studying Zara. "My husband is black. American. I know what it's like to be the outsider who married into this world. You'll face resistance, prejudice, and constant testing. But you're stronger than you look, yes? You took a bullet. That counts for something." Zara felt tears prick her eyes at the unexpected kindness. "I don't know if I can do this." "You can," Mrs. Choi said firmly, "because the alternative is worse. Now let's begin. Tonight is your first family dinner. You'll meet the extended family and key members of the organization. First impressions matter. Show weakness, and they'll devour you. Show strength, and you might earn a shred of respect." The crash course was brutal. Korean honorifics, proper bowing angles, which dishes to serve yourself from, and which required waiting, how to hold chopsticks correctly for formal dining. Zara's head spun with information, but she absorbed what she could. She'd always been a fast learner. Surviving on her own since 19 had taught her adaptability. That evening, dressed in a simple but elegant black dress that Mrs. Choi had selected, Zara entered the formal dining room. 20 people were already seated around an enormous table, conversations stopping as she appeared. Kang Jae-won sat at the head, Minho to his right. The empty seat to Minho's right was clearly meant for her. She walked to it with her spine straight, aware of every eye tracking her movement. Whispers rippled through the room, most in Korean, but the tone was clear enough. Skepticism, disapproval, curiosity. Kang Jae-won stood, and silence fell immediately. "This is Zara Williams, who saved my life. In 1 week, she will become Zara Kang. She is under my personal protection. Anyone who disrespects her, disrespects me." The message was clear, but Zara could feel the resistance in the room like a physical presence. She sat, keeping her expression neutral, and the dinner began. Dish after dish appeared, each more elaborate than the last. Zara followed Mrs. Choi's instructions, waiting for the elders to serve themselves first, accepting dishes with both hands, keeping her portions modest. "So, Miss Williams," a woman across the table said in perfect English. She was perhaps 50, beautiful in a severe way, wearing enough jewelry to fund Marcus's treatment twice over. "You're a waitress, correct?" "I was," Zara said carefully. "I work 2 jobs to support my family." "How industrious." The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "And now you'll be part of this family, though you know nothing of our culture, our language, or our business." "Quite the promotion." "Aunt Soo-jin," Minho said quietly, a warning. But the woman continued, switching to Korean, speaking directly to Kang Jae-won. Zara didn't understand the words, but the dismissive gesture toward her was universal. Kang Jae-won's response was sharp, cutting, and his sister's mouth pressed into a thin line. The rest of the table remained silent, watching the drama unfold. Zara forced herself to keep eating, to act unbothered, even as humiliation burned in her chest. Then she noticed something. One of the men at the far end of the table, a lieutenant based on his position, kept glancing toward the door. His right hand rested near his jacket pocket, and sweat beaded on his upper lip despite the cool temperature. His eyes darted to Kang Jae-won, then away, then back. The pattern repeated every 30 seconds. Body language. Zara had learned to read people during years of waitressing, identifying the angry drunks before they started fights, the ones who wouldn't tip, the ones who'd make inappropriate comments. This man was terrified, guilty, and watching for something. She leaned slightly toward Minho, keeping her voice barely above a whisper. The man at the end, gray suit. Something's wrong with him. Minho's eyes flicked toward the lieutenant for a fraction of a second, then back to his plate. Don't involve yourself in things you don't understand. He keeps watching the door. His hand is near his weapon, and he's sweating. Either he's sick or he's waiting for something. Zara kept her tone level. 3 nights ago, assassins knew exactly when and where to find your father. Someone told them. That got Minho's attention. His jaw tightened, and he set down his chopsticks. You're accusing Lieutenant Park of treason based on nervousness at dinner? I'm saying he's acting like someone with a guilty conscience, Zara insisted. You want me to stay out of your business? Fine, but I'm already in it. Your father made sure of that. For a long moment, Minho studied her face, and Zara held his gaze. Finally, he leaned back slightly and made a subtle gesture. 2 of the guards near the wall straightened, their attention shifting to Lieutenant Park. The man noticed. His hand moved toward his pocket, but the guards were faster. They had him out of his chair and restrained before he could draw whatever weapon he'd been reaching for. The table erupted in chaos, people standing, shouting in Korean, and Kong Jae-won's voice cut through it all like a blade. Take him to the lower level, he commanded, then looked directly at Zara. His expression was unreadable. It seems my future daughter-in-law has sharp eyes. Lieutenant Park was dragged from the room, still shouting protests in Korean. The dinner continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. People looked at Zara differently now, the mockery replaced by calculation. She'd proven she wasn't just decorative. She'd proven she could be useful. After dinner, Minho caught her arm in the hallway, his grip firm but not painful. How did you know? I didn't know, Zara admitted. I guessed, but I spent 6 years reading people for tips. You learn to spot the ones who are about to cause problems. He could have been nervous for any reason. Then you'll know soon enough. Zara pulled her arm free. But if I'm right, and he is the traitor, maybe you'll stop treating me like I'm completely useless. Something almost like respect flickered across Minho's face. The interrogation will take a few hours. If you're wrong, you'll have made an enemy of a powerful family. Park's brother serves on the council. And if I'm right, then you might survive your first week here. Minho turned away, then paused. My mother died when I was 12. Rival gang, car bomb, wrong place, wrong time. My father nearly died from grief. He's never been the same. When you push him out of that chair, when you took that bullet, it was the first time in 16 years I've seen him look at someone with genuine affection. His voice went cold again. Don't make me regret not letting you die. He left her standing in the hallway, those harsh words echoing off marble floors. Zara returned to her room, exhausted and overwhelmed, but also oddly exhilarated. She'd survived her first test. She'd proven herself useful. It was a start. Mrs. Choi appeared an hour later, her expression grave. Lieutenant Park confessed. He's been feeding information to the Huang gang for 6 months. Your instinct saved lives tonight, possibly including your own. The wedding has been moved up. 2 days from now. 2 days. Zara's heart stuttered. Why? Because Park revealed that Huang Dongwu plans to attack during the ceremony. Mr. Kong wants to draw them out, end this war before it claims more lives. And you, Miss Williams, will be the bait. Mrs. Choi's expression softened. I am sorry, but this is the world you've entered. Here, even weddings are battlegrounds. The wedding preparations happened in a blur of activity that left Zara dizzy. Designers appeared with a modified hanbok, traditional Korean wedding attire adapted to incorporate elements of her heritage. The deep crimson silk was embroidered with both Korean phoenixes and African adinkra symbols, a fusion that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. It was beautiful. It was armor. Mrs. Choi drilled her relentlessly on the ceremony steps, the vows in both Korean and English, how to bow, where to stand, when to speak. Zara absorbed it all, while her mind raced with darker thoughts. She was bait. They were using her wedding to draw out assassins. People would likely die at her ceremony, and she was supposed to smile and play her part. The night before the wedding, she finally saw Marcus. The video call was arranged carefully, background neutral, so he couldn't see where she was. Her brother looked better than he had in months, color returning to his brown skin, his smile genuine. Z, you look tired, Marcus said, concern in his eyes. This family working you too hard. Just adjusting, Zara lied, forcing brightness into her voice. How are the treatments? Amazing. The doctor here, Dr. Kim, she's incredible. They're trying this new protocol, and my numbers are already improving. She says if this keeps up, I might be in remission within 6 months. His grin was infectious. Can you believe it? I might actually graduate college on time. Tears burned Zara's eyes. That's wonderful, Marcus. I know you're sacrificing a lot for me, working for these rich people. But Z, I'm going to make it worth it. I'm going to live, finish school, get a good job, and take care of you for once. I promise. Just focus on getting better, Zara whispered. That's all that matters. After the call ended, she sat in the darkness of her room and let herself cry. Tomorrow she'd marry a man who barely tolerated her, become part of a criminal family, and possibly die in an attack orchestrated by enemies she'd never met. But Marcus would live. That was the trade, and she'd make it 1,000 times over. A knock on her door interrupted her tears. Minho entered without waiting for permission, his expression unreadable as usual. He wore casual clothes for once, jeans and a simple black shirt, somehow looking even more dangerous without the formal suits. "Can't sleep?" he asked. "Can you?" Zara wiped her eyes quickly. He moved to the window, staring out at the gardens below. "I haven't slept well since I was 12. You get used to it." Silence stretched between them before he spoke again. "My father told me to talk to you. To explain what will happen tomorrow, prepare you. I know what will happen. I'll be bait while you hunt down the people trying to kill us. It's more complex than that." Minho turned to face her. "The ceremony will proceed normally. We've leaked the location and time to Huang's network through controlled channels. We expect them to infiltrate as catering staff or guests. My men will be positioned throughout the venue, ready to respond. Your job is to act natural, complete the vows, and if shooting starts, get behind me immediately." "How romantic," Zara said bitterly. "Getting married in a trap. This is how we end wars here. Definitively." Minho's voice carried no apology. "Huang Dongwu has been hunting my father for 2 years, ever since we took the port contract he wanted. He's lost face, money, and men. He won't stop until one of them is dead. And I'm just collateral damage." "No." Minho stepped closer, his dark eyes intense. "You're family now, which means if anyone tries to hurt you tomorrow, they'll learn exactly what the Kong family does to its enemies." Something in his voice sent shivers down Zara's spine, equal parts fear and something she didn't want to examine. "You didn't want this marriage." "No, I didn't. I still don't." His honesty was brutal. "But my want stopped matching the moment you saved my father's life. He sees something in you, some quality he values above strategy or tradition. And I've learned to trust his judgment, even when I don't understand it." "That's not exactly reassuring." Minho's lips quirked in what might have been the ghost of a smile. "I'm not here to reassure you. I'm here to tell you that tomorrow, regardless of what happens, you'll be a Kong. That comes with protection, but also with expectations. We don't show weakness. We don't back down. And we protect our own with everything we have." He moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, you handled Lieutenant Park well. My Aunt Sujin is already telling people you have instincts that could be valuable to the family business. That's high praise from her. She called me a waitress like it was an insult. She calls everyone something insulting. It's her way of testing people." Minho's expression softened fractionally. "Sleep if you can. Tomorrow will be long." The wedding day dawned clear and bright, mockingly beautiful. Zara was dressed and prepared by a team of stylists, her natural hair styled into an elegant updo with traditional ornaments woven through the coils. The modified hanbok fit perfectly, the weight of the silk both comforting and suffocating. She looked like a bride. She felt like a soldier going to war. The ceremony was held in the estate's main garden, transformed into something from fairy tale. White flowers everywhere, traditional Korean drums providing rhythmic ambience, guests in their finest clothes filling rows of chairs. Security was invisible but omnipresent, guards positioned at every entrance and vantage point. Zara's trained, I could spot them now, the telltale signs of weapons under jackets, the way they scanned the crowd constantly. Kang Ji-won escorted her down the aisle, and the symbolism wasn't lost on anyone. He was claiming her as his daughter before she became his daughter-in-law. Minho waited at the altar in traditional hanbok, his expression grave but not unkind. When their eyes met, something passed between them. An understanding. They were in this together now, whether they liked it or not. The officiant began the ceremony, words in Korean that Zara had memorized phonetically, their meaning learned but not fully felt. She repeated her vows, her voice steady despite her racing heart. Minho's responses were clear and firm, his eyes never leaving hers. They were binding themselves together with words and tradition, creating something neither had chosen, but both would honor. The officiant was halfway through the final blessing when Zara saw him. A waiter, moving wrong, his hand reaching under his jacket instead of toward his tray. Her body tensed, but Minho had seen it too. His hand found hers, squeezing once in warning. Then chaos erupted. Gunfire shattered the ceremony's peace. Guests screamed and scattered. The waiter's weapon came up, but Kong's security was faster. He dropped before he could fire. More shots from the catering tent, from the parking area, a coordinated assault. Minho pulled Zara behind him, his own weapon appearing from somewhere in his wedding attire. But Zara's eyes were tracking movement others missed. A figure in traditional dress, moving against the flow of panicking guests, heading not toward the fighting but toward the house, toward where Kong Ji-won had retreated with his personal guards. The figure's gait was wrong, too purposeful, and something about the way he moved. "Minho!" she shouted over the gunfire. "Someone's going for your father, the house, traditional clothes, moving east." Minho's head snapped around, following her line of sight. He barked orders in Korean, and 3 guards peeled off, sprinting toward the house. He started to follow, then hesitated, looking back at Zara. "Go," she said. "I'll stay down." He ran. Zara dropped behind an overturned table, her heart hammering, the sounds of battle raging around her. This was insane. This was her wedding day. People were dying at her wedding. The surreal horror of it threatened to overwhelm her, but she forced herself to breathe, to think, to survive. The gunfire began to die down. Kang's men were well-trained and had been prepared for this. The assault had been ambitious, but ultimately unsuccessful. Attackers were dead or captured. Guests were being evacuated, and slowly order returned. Zara stood on shaking legs, surveying the destruction. Blood on white flowers. Bullet holes in silk decorations. The beautiful ceremony transformed into a battlefield. Mrs. Choi appeared at her side, checking her for injuries, and Zara realized she was in shock, her hands trembling uncontrollably. "It's over," Mrs. Choi said gently. "You're safe. It's over." But it wasn't. Because Minho was returning from the house, his expression darker than Zara had ever seen it, and walking beside him, hands bound, was Hwang Dongwoo himself. The rival boss had made the fatal mistake of trying to personally kill Kong Ji-won, and Zara's warning had stopped him. The prisoners were brought to the garden's center, forced to kneel. Kong Ji-won emerged from the house, unharmed, his wedding attire, somehow, still immaculate. He surveyed the scene with cold eyes. Then his gaze found Zara. "My daughter-in-law has sharp eyes," he announced, his voice carrying across the garden. "She saw what others missed. She saved my life twice now." Hwang Dongwoo looked up, and for the first time, Zara saw her enemy. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe 40, with a scar running down his left cheek and eyes burning with hatred so intense it was almost physical. When his gaze landed on her, she felt the full weight of his rage. "A black woman," he spat in accented English. "You let a black woman into your family, Kong. You dishonor everything our fathers built." The racist venom in his words hit Zara like a slap, but before she could respond, Minho moved. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides and backhanded Hwang across the face hard enough to snap his head sideways. "You will show respect," Minho said, his voice deadly quiet. "She's a Kong now. She is under our protection, and she is worth 10 of you." Something in Zara's chest cracked open at those words, at the fierce protectiveness in Minho's voice. He'd said he didn't want this marriage, didn't want her, but he was defending her like she mattered, like she was already his. Kong Ji-won raised a hand, and silence fell. "Hwang Dongwoo, you have violated sacred ceremony, shed blood on holy ground, and attempted to murder me in my own home. By every law of our world, your life is forfeit." "Then take it," Hwang snarled. "Just like your father took everything from mine. Your family showed my father mercy 20 years ago, and he died in shame because of it. I will not beg like you did." The story crystallized in Zara's mind. This wasn't just about territory or money. This was generational hatred, the sins of fathers visited on sons, an endless cycle of revenge that would consume them all if someone didn't break it. She stepped forward before she could second-guess herself. "Wait." Every eye turned to her. Minho's expression showed alarm. Kong Ji-won's showed curiosity, and Hwang's showed contempt. But Zara had spent her whole life fighting systems that try to crush her, and she recognized the pattern here. Violence begetting violence, hate feeding hate, until everyone was diminished by it. "Mr. Kong showed your father mercy once," Zara said, addressing Hwang directly, "and you spent your life calling it shame. But what if it was something else? What if it was an offer you never understood? What would you know about honor? Huang sneered. You're nothing. A waitress who got lucky. I know about survival, Zara shot back. I know what it means to have nothing and fight for everything. I know what it costs to keep fighting when you're exhausted and the system is rigged against you. And I know that this, right here, this endless revenge, is just another rigged system. You kill him, his son kills you, your people kill his people, and it never stops. Everyone loses. Zara, Minho said quietly, a warning. But Kong Jae-won raised his hand again. Let her speak. Zara took a breath, choosing her words carefully. You want to avenge your father's shame. But look at you now, kneeling in your enemy's garden, captured at a wedding. If you die here today, what story do your people tell? That you fell into an obvious trap? That a black waitress spotted you before your own target did? Where's the honor in that? Huang's jaw clenched, fury and humiliation warring in his expression. But Zara continued. What if there was another way? What if mercy wasn't weakness, but strategy? What if we ended this cycle right here, right now, and everyone got to survive? You're naive, Huang spat. There is no peace between our families. Too much blood has been spilled. Then spill more, Zara said simply. Keep killing until there's no one left. Or choose something different. Choose to let your father's shame die with this generation instead of passing it to your sons. The garden was silent, except for the wind rustling through damaged decorations. Kong Jae-won studied Zara with an expression she couldn't read, and Minho looked like he didn't know whether to admire her or strangle her. Finally, Kong Jae-won spoke. What do you propose, daughter? The word daughter sent warmth through Zara's chest despite everything. Let him live. But not out of weakness, out of power. Show him, and everyone watching, that the Kong family is strong enough to choose mercy. Give him back some territory, enough to save face, but make him swear a blood oath of peace. Make it clear that if he breaks it, there will be no mercy a second time. That's insane, Minho said. He'll rebuild and attack again. Maybe, Zara admitted. Or maybe he'll be so surprised by genuine mercy that he'll actually honor it. Either way, you'll know you tried something different. And if he does break the oath, you'll have the moral high ground when you end him. Huang stared at her like she'd grown a second head. Why would you offer me anything? I tried to kill you at your own wedding. Because I'm tired of death, Zara said honestly. My brother almost died. I almost died. You want to add more bodies to that pile? Fine. But I've seen enough blood for one lifetime. Kong Jae-won was silent for a long moment. Then he began to laugh. It started as a chuckle and grew into full, genuine laughter that seemed to surprise everyone, including himself. When he finally stopped, he wiped his eyes and looked at Zara with open affection. My son, you have married a revolutionary, he said to Minho. She sees what we cannot because she is not blinded by our traditions. He turned to Huang. Here is my offer, and I make it only once. Swear a blood oath of peace. I return the port territories in District 7. You operate there without interference, and we operate everywhere else without your interference. Break this oath, and I will erase your entire bloodline from the earth. Accept it, and we end this war today. Huang's face cycled through emotions, pride, rage, calculation, and finally, exhaustion. Your father made my father kneel and beg. You offer me terms like an equal. Because my daughter-in-law is wiser than her years, Kong Jae-won said simply. And because I'm tired of war. Are you? The question hung in the air. Finally, slowly, Huang bowed his head. I accept. Blood oath of peace. The war ends today. The ritual that followed was ancient, formal, witnessed by both families. Blood was drawn. Oaths were spoken in Korean. And when it was done, Huang Dongwu walked free, his men retrieving their dead. The garden slowly emptying of violence. Minho pulled Zara aside once the ceremony finally, truly concluded. They stood in the ruined garden, still in their wedding attire, and for the first time, he looked at her without walls or distance. That was either the bravest or most foolish thing I've ever witnessed, he said. Probably both, Zara admitted, her adrenaline finally crashing, leaving her shaky and exhausted. He could have rejected it. My father could have rejected it. You could have gotten us all killed. But I didn't. Zara met his eyes. I got us something different. Maybe something better. Or maybe I'm naive, and in 6 months Huang breaks his oath, and we're right back here. But at least we tried. Minho studied her face, and something in his expression shifted. The coldness thawed slightly, replaced by what might have been respect, might have been the beginning of something deeper. You're not what I expected. Neither are you, Zara said honestly. You're terrifying and cold, and you backhanded a man for insulting me when you didn't have to. He disrespected my wife. Minho said it like it was obvious. That's not acceptable. Your wife, Zara repeated. We actually did get married, didn't we? In the middle of all that chaos. We did. Minho's Liebesgewirket. Most unconventional wedding I've ever attended. How many have you attended where the guests included assassins? More than you'd think. He offered his arm, formal despite their destroyed surroundings. Cool, mate. We should check on the guests, assess damage, and probably eat something. It's traditional for the bride and groom to share the first meal. Zara took his arm, and they walked together through the wreckage of their wedding toward whatever came next. Behind them, Mrs. Choi was already directing cleanup crews, and Kang Ji-won was speaking with his lieutenants, solidifying the new peace. 3 months later, Zara stood in Marcus's hospital room, watching her brother walk without assistance for the first time in a year. The treatments had worked. He was in remission, his body fighting back, winning. Tears streamed down her face as he crossed the room and pulled her into a hug. I told you I'd make it worth it, Marcus whispered. Thank you, Z, for everything. She held him tight, thinking about all the impossible choices that had led here. The bullet, the marriage, the Mafia family that had become unexpectedly real. Minho waited in the hallway, giving them privacy, but present, always present now. Their marriage had evolved into something neither had expected, built on respect and shared purpose rather than love. But perhaps love would come. Perhaps it was already beginning. You ready to meet my husband? Zara asked when they finally pulled apart. Marcus grinned. The mysterious rich guy you married in a hurry? Yeah, I am curious. She introduced them, watched Minho bow formally and Marcus laugh at the formality, and felt something settle in her chest. Her two worlds were meeting, merging, and somehow it worked. The Kang family had kept every promise. Marcus's treatment had never faltered, and she found her place in their dangerous world. That night, back at the estate, Minho found her in the garden where they'd married. The damage had been repaired, the space beautiful again, no trace of violence remaining. Good news about Marcus, he said, standing beside her. The best, Zara agreed. Thank you. For everything your family did for him. He's family now, too. Minho took her hand, the gesture still slightly awkward, but genuine. You changed us, Zara. My father laughs again. Aunt Sujin actually smiles when you argue with her. And me. He paused, searching for words. I didn't think I could trust anyone outside the family. But you've proven me wrong repeatedly. Zara squeezed his hand. I took a bullet for your father. He made me his bride. And somehow, impossibly, it's working. Somehow, Minho agreed. And when he smiled, it was real and warm and directed entirely at her. The blood debt had been paid. The war had ended. And Zara Williams, now Zara Kang, had found her family in the most unexpected place. The journey hadn't been easy, and challenges still lay ahead, but she'd learned something crucial. Sometimes the best things in life come from the choices we make when we have no choice at all. Over the next few weeks, something shifted between them. Minho began teaching Zara about the family business, not just the surface level, but the real operations. She learned about their legitimate enterprises, restaurants, import companies, real estate, and the less legitimate ones she'd suspected existed. He explained the hierarchy, the alliances, the delicate balance of power that kept Los Angeles's underworld functioning. You have good instincts, he said one evening as they reviewed reports in his office. You see patterns others miss. My father wants to bring you into strategic planning. Strategic planning for organized crime? Zara looked up from the documents. That's not something I ever imagined as a career path. You're also helping us go more legitimate, Minho said. Your ideas about the restaurant expansion, using our cultural connections to build authentic Korean Black fusion businesses in underserved communities. My father is genuinely excited about it. He's been looking for ways to transition more operations into legal territory. Because of me? Because you showed him there's another way forward. That we don't have to stay locked in the old patterns. Minho leaned back in his chair, studying her. You're changing us, Zara. The whole family. Is that good or bad? Good, he said without hesitation. Definitely good. They were spending more time together, sharing meals, working side by side, talking late into the night about everything from philosophy to their childhoods. Zara learned that Minho had wanted to be an architect before his mother died, that he still sketched buildings in his rare free moments. He learned that Zara had dreamed of being a novelist, that she'd written 3 complete manuscripts she'd never shown anyone. Why not? Minho asked one night as they sat in the garden, the space where they'd married, now peaceful under the stars. Because waitresses who raise their sick brothers don't get to be novelists, Zara said. That's for people with time and money and connections. You're not a waitress anymore. You have time, money, and connections now. Minho's voice was gentle. What's stopping you? Zara didn't have a good answer. The truth was, she'd been so focused on survival for so long that she'd forgotten about dreams beyond keeping Marcus alive. I'll make you a deal, Minho said. You show me your writing, and I'll show you my architecture sketches. All the buildings I'll never design. Why won't you design them? Because I'm a mob boss's son. That path closed when I was 12. But it doesn't have to stay closed, Zara said, echoing his own words back to him. We can change the patterns, remember? Choose different paths forward. Minho looked at her for a long moment, something warm and wondering in his expression. How do you do that? Do what? Make me believe things could actually be different. Their faces were close in the darkness, and Zara could feel the magnetic pull between them, the tension that had been building for weeks. Minho's hand came up to cup her cheek, his thumb brushing across her skin. I should tell you something, he said quietly. I stopped thinking of you as my father's choice about 3 weeks ago. Now, when I see you, when I hear your voice, when you walk into a room. He paused, seeming to gather courage. You're not an obligation anymore, Zara. You're a choice I make every day. You're becoming my choice. Zara's heart hammered against her ribs. Minho. You don't have to say anything, he said quickly. I know this started as a forced arrangement. I know you might not feel the same way. But I needed you to know that for me, it's become something real. You think I don't feel it too? Zara's voice came out breathless. You think I haven't noticed that my heart speeds up when you walk into a room? That I look forward to our late-night conversations more than anything else in my day? That when you defended me in front of Huang, when you call me your wife like it meant something, I felt it here. She pressed her hand to her chest. I've been falling for you, Minho. Slowly, terrifyingly, but completely. The kiss was inevitable, pulling them together like gravity. Minho's lips met hers with a gentleness that contradicted everything about his dangerous world, his hands cradling her face like she was something precious. Zara melted into him, her hands fisting in his shirt, and the kiss deepened into something desperate and real in theirs. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Minho rested his forehead against hers. I love you, he whispered in Korean, then in English. I love you, Zara. My brave, brilliant, impossible wife. I love you too, Zara replied, her voice thick with emotion. Even though you're terrifying and bossy, and you made me want to murder you for the first month. He laughed, the sound free and genuine, and pulled her close again. We should probably have an actual honeymoon, one without assassination attempts. That would be nice, Zara agreed, snuggling into his warmth. Where would we go? Seoul. I'll show you where my family came from, teach you more Korean, introduce you to the parts of my world you haven't seen yet. His arms tightened around her. And then maybe somewhere just for us. Bali, or the Maldives, or anywhere you want to go. I've never left California, Zara admitted. Then we have a lot of traveling to do. Minho kissed her temple. I want to show you the whole world, Zara. I want to give you all the dreams you put on hold. 3 months later, Zara stood in Marcus's hospital room at the private facility, watching her brother complete his physical therapy session. He moved with increasing strength, his body responding beautifully to the cutting-edge treatments. Dr. Kim stood beside Zara, her expression professionally pleased, but with an undercurrent of genuine joy. His latest scans are remarkable, Dr. Kim said. If this trajectory continues, we're looking at full remission within another 2 months. He'll need monitoring, of course, but Marcus is going to live a long, healthy life. Zara's eyes filled with tears, and Minho's arm came around her waist, steadying her. He'd been there for every update, every treatment milestone, as invested in Marcus's recovery, as if he were his own brother. When Marcus finished his session, he walked over to them without assistance, his grin bright and healthy. He'd gained back the weight he'd lost, his brown skin glowing with returning health, and Zara had never seen anything more beautiful. Z, he said, pulling her into a tight hug. Stop crying. I'm fine. Better than fine. I know. She managed through her tears. I'm just so happy. Marcus pulled back, then looked at Minho. Take care of my sister, man. She's been taking care of everyone else her whole life. It's someone else's turn. I intend to, Minho said seriously, offering his hand. Marcus shook it, then surprised them both by pulling Minho into a brief hug. Also, Marcus said when he stepped back, "When were you two going to tell me you're actually in love? Because it's super obvious, and I've been waiting for someone to just admit it." Zara and Minho exchanged glances, and she saw her own happiness reflected in his eyes. "How did you know?" "The way you look at each other when you think no one's watching," Marcus said, laughing. "Like the other person hung the moon or something. It's actually kind of disgustingly sweet." "We fell in love," Zara admitted, taking Minho's hand. "It wasn't supposed to happen, but it did." "Good," Marcus said firmly. "You deserve to be happy, Z. You've sacrificed everything for me. I'm glad you found someone who sees how amazing you are." That evening, back at the Kong estate, the family gathered for dinner. It had become tradition, these weekly meals where everyone came together. Aunt Sujin was there, now one of Zara's unlikely allies and confidants. Mrs. Choi served the meal she'd prepared, smiling at Zara's improved chopstick technique. And Kong Jae-won sat at the head of the table, looking more at peace than Minho said he'd been in years. "I have an announcement," Kong Jae-won said when the meal was winding down. "I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations. Minho will take over as head of the family." He looked at his son with obvious pride. "And Zara will serve as his strategic advisor and co-lead on our legitimate business expansion." The table erupted in conversation, congratulations, and a few surprised murmurs. Minho's hand found Zara's under the table, squeezing gently. "Are you sure about this?" Minho asked his father. "More sure than I've been about anything in 16 years, Kong Jae-won replied. "You're ready, son. And with Zara beside you, you'll build something better than I ever could. Something that honors our past, but reaches toward a different future." Later that night, Zara and Minho stood on their private balcony, looking out over the city lights of Los Angeles. His arms wrapped around her from behind, and she leaned back into his warmth. "Are you scared?" she asked quietly. "About leading the family?" "Terrified," Minho admitted, "but less so with you beside me." "We're going to change things," Zara said with conviction. "Make the family more legitimate, invest in our communities, break the cycles of violence. Your father started it, but we'll finish it." "Always so optimistic," Minho teased, kissing her neck. "What happened to the exhausted waitress who could barely stay on her feet?" "She took a bullet for a Mafia boss and married his son," Zara said, turning in his arms to face him. "Turns out that changes a person." "For the better?" "Definitely for the better." She kissed him softly. "I have you. Marcus is getting better. I have a family that actually cares about me, and I'm helping build something meaningful. A year ago, I was drowning. Now I'm flying. Then fly with me," Minho said, lifting her off her feet and spinning her around, making her laugh with pure joy. When he set her down, his expression turned serious. "Marry me again." "We're already married," Zara pointed out. "Marry me again properly. A ceremony where no one tries to kill us, where Marcus can walk you down the aisle, where we say our vows because we choose to, not because we have to." His eyes were intense, loving. "Let me give you the wedding you deserve, Zara. The one where I get to promise myself to you because I love you, not because of duty or debt." Tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. "Yes. Yes, of course, yes." 6 months later, the garden that had seen violence and chaos was transformed once again, this time into something purely beautiful. White flowers bloomed everywhere, traditional Korean lanterns hung from the trees, and African kente cloth was draped artistically throughout, a true fusion of their heritages. Marcus, healthy and strong, walked Zara down the aisle, his arms steady under hers. "I'm so proud of you, Z," he whispered. "You saved my life, but you also built your own. You found love. You found home." "I found everything," Zara whispered back, her eyes on Minho, waiting at the altar in traditional hanbok, his face radiating love so strong it took her breath away. This time, the vows were spoken with full hearts. This time, Minho's voice shook with emotion as he promised to love her, protect her, and walk beside her as they built their future. This time, when Zara promised to stand with him through whatever came, she knew exactly what she was choosing. When they kissed, the garden erupted in cheers and applause. Both families, Korean and the small group of friends Zara, had accumulated, celebrated the union that had started in violence and debt, but had transformed into something beautiful and real. At the reception, Kang Jae-won raised his glass. A year ago, a brave young woman saved my life without thought of reward. Today, she is truly my daughter, and she has saved this family in ways she doesn't even realize. She taught us that mercy is not weakness, that change is possible, and that love can bloom even in the darkest soil. To Minho and Zara, may your love continue to transform everything it touches. To Minho and Zara, the crowd echoed. As the evening progressed, Zara found herself on the dance floor with her husband, swaying to music that blended Korean and American traditions seamlessly. Happy, Minho murmured against her ear. Deliriously, Zara replied, looking up at him. I took a bullet for your father, and he gave me everything I never knew I needed. A family, a purpose, a home. And you, especially you. I got the better deal, Minho said seriously. You gave me hope that I could be more than my father's son, that we could build something better together. You gave me love I didn't think I deserved. You deserve everything, Zara said fiercely, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life proving it to you. Then we're both lucky, Minho said, kissing her deeply as their families and friends cheered around them. A year after taking a bullet for a stranger, Zara Kang stood in her garden, surrounded by love, having transformed a life of struggle into something extraordinary. She'd found family in the most unexpected place, love with a man who'd started as a stranger, and purpose in helping build a better future. The bullet scar on her shoulder had faded to a thin line, but the courage that had driven her to take that shot had only grown stronger. She'd save a life, and in doing so, had saved her own. And as Minho spun her across the dance floor, both of them laughing with pure joy, Zara knew with absolute certainty that she'd do it all again. Every dangerous moment, every impossible choice, every terrifying leap of faith. Because this love, this family, this life they were building together was worth everything. If this story of sacrifice, danger, and unexpected love captured your heart, show some love by hitting that like button and dropping a comment below. Tell me what you thought of Zara and Minho's journey from forced marriage to true love. And don't forget to subscribe because I've got so many more incredible stories coming your way. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next story.